What is up, my Lorcana Goons? Welcome back to the Lorcana Goons channel. You're watching the Quest with a Guest podcast. Today, we're going to be joined by Bito, who got top 8 at the DLC in Chicago. He's a former Yu-Gi-Oh champion, a Yu-Gi-Oh legend. Actually, he's been playing card games since the early 2000s, and now he's making his transition, his switch from Yu-Gi-Oh to Lorcana, already doing well in the second Disney Lorcana Challenge. So he's going to break down his mentality when playing big tournaments, his experience, and more things about Lorcana. So stay tuned to Lorcana Goons for more. What is up, my Lorcana Goons? Welcome back to the Quest with a Guest podcast. I'm your host, Kevin, joined with my co-host, Zach Stone. We're joined today with our guest, Bito. You did very well at the DLC in Chicago, and you have a lot of credentials in the trading card game space. For those who don't know who you are, Dale, introduce yourself.
Bito. I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh forever. I predate Yu-Gi-Oh coverage. So if you guys are familiar with Metagame was the very first coverage for Yu-Gi-Oh. My first premier top was not even on Metagame. So it goes that far back. You had to go to forums and
Okay. So, Mans has a gang of credentials in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like he just said, been playing since before coverage was even a thing.
My first premier event was 2004. It was Yu-Gi-Oh! Nationals, Canadian Nationals. I finished second. And I played so the space that Lorcana it was in when you guys started. Before organized play, just starter decks, set 1, set 2, waiting for organized play to be announced. That's when I played Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
That's how far back. So before regionals, I got to play the first ever regionals.
That's crazy.
And in that And so it's funny because the first ever regionals is similar layout to how Bockham this weekend is. And top 4 of each room got to playing top 8.
Oh, that's crazy. What an interesting way to divide up. And then that was like back then, when tournaments were first being organized for trading card games. I mean, obviously Magic the Gathering predates all of that, but after your long history of playing Yu-Gi-Oh, you took a break from playing Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm assuming, and now you're playing Lorcana. Why Lorcana?
It was a game that obviously I'm definitely much older than both of you, and my friend group all had kids, all had families. We went through that phase in life, and then everyone decided to come back. And one day, my brother and one of my best friends, Irvin, said that there was a pre-release for this new game. So the Disney they called it the Disney game. So I went to go meet them at the tournament. I was just gonna watch. I had no idea how this game played, so I decided just to go watch and watch the sealed event for the starter deck. I'm like, you know what? I have time. I'll play it. I learned the game while I'm registering and building my deck. It was Hearthstone, so they just explained it as Hearthstone, and yeah, that was probably August last year, and this game has sucked me back in.
All right, so you're back into card games years later. You find Lorcana, you catch an interest in it, and you attend the Disney Lorcana challenges. So I met you at Atlanta, and I know you went to Atlanta, and then you went to Chicago, and you finished in top 8, right? Nice. And obviously you've been in the top cut of these huge card game tournaments before. It's not your first time, obviously, being up there. Did it feel any different?
I don't want to come off the wrong way, but it was like riding a bike.
Okay, yeah, be confident, man. I really want to hear your opinion on it because, I get nervous. I get nervous when I'm on the bubble. I get nervous when I'm playing top cut of any tournament, So I do like hearing that though, because if it is something that comes natural to you, the victory is it's in your near future if it's that easy for you riding a bike.
Yeah. Well, part of it was okay. So going into the room of top 64. And not being so a lot of people don't so you know me as Dale. The whole community knows me as Dale, but I registered my Melee account with my real name, Demetrius. So Demetrius is my real name. I use it for work, and Dale was my nickname growing up, and it was that insecure nickname that I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh back when I was in high school. So I ran with that. But now, since I have to claim big prizes, I had to use my real name, whatever's on my driver's license. So I put it on my driver. I put Demetrius, and no one knows that I'm in top 64 in my area unless they read in the Discord that that's me. And yeah.
Yeah, dude. I do the same thing actually. So my middle name is Kevin. Fun fact, and I go by Kevin in the gaming community, card game community. But my government name is Christopher with a K. So like my melee account. So that's how it comes out when people get paired up against me. So I could tell at Atlanta, I would sit down my rounds, and obviously we do the channel. People recognize me sometimes. Some of my opponents, they'd give me like a double take, and I could tell they wanted to say like, wait, this says Christopher, but you say your name is Kevin, and it was like and at the end of the match, then they would say like, oh, I watch your YouTube channel, but they kind of ended up working out because now people, they don't know they're going to play me until I sit down. But either way, like, yeah, I get I get what you're saying. I'm in the same boat, bro. But yeah, dude, congrats again. By the way, getting top 8 at the DLCs, it's not an easy thing to do, dude. And like this whole 2 game format thing, a lot of people have mixed feelings about it. You played Emerald Steel. Did you playing Emerald Steel? Did the 2 game format have anything to do with that decision? Do you just like Emerald Steel this format? Tell me about what your strategy was going into the tournament.
So I've been a Steel player since the beginning, and I just felt like Steel is one of those decks that help you beat the random aggro. You need it for the random aggro, and I feel like that's the only thing that I could possibly lose to where skill doesn't play too much of a factor. And green is just Diablo is just nuts. Green has all the options. Diablo 1 lets you see their hand. Ursula 2, like there's so many different lines, and blind, I think it's the best deck, hands down the best deck, and open deck list too. Even if I'm looking a little bit further into top 64, it's still like, yeah, there could be those cards, but the deck could just it's the deck that can draw the best hand. Like there's a few decks, there's maybe only 1 or 2 decks out there that you can look at your hand and be like, yeah, I won this game, type of thing. And green steals the deck, I think, just can 2-0 people on the play, on the draw. I got my first, so I went 4-0 after that loss, and then I split one with one of the Forbidden Mountain guys.
Okay.
But yeah, and then 2-0 the next round, and then yeah, best of 2 format allows a lot of drawing in the last couple rounds. So
yeah, I think that's one of the things I dislike about the format is that like everyone is incentivized to reach a certain point and then just get hit with the intentional draws. So like if you're really really on the bubble, if you're like going uphill playing those rounds, like it does feel kind of bad when a lot of people ID and it kind of messes with your tiebreakers. But I mean that's something new to me and new to us too. Did you play any other card games other than Yu-Gi-Oh, like to that competitive level?
no, so I played Yugioh, and I know you can intentionally draw now in Yu-Gi-Oh. I think I'm not sure, but I played 2.
No.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
No, you can't. So
I don't think you can. Yeah, I don't think you can. So.
I don't even know that, but I haven't no games with intentional draws.
Yeah, so it's a newer concept to me too.
It's yeah, it just to me it doesn't make sense because I think my approach of what I thought they were trying to do is they were trying to prevent any, like, I'm going to use this term loosely, collusion in predetermining an outcome of a game.
Yeah.
By doing best of 2 format, but if anything, they started the collusion from, instead of the last round, 3 or 4 rounds sooner. So I think the fix is not necessarily best of 3 because the game does take long.
It feels like you have to play very greedy in like the 2 game format. Like I remember I started off my first 2 matches were 2-0s on my side, and then I took 2 losses right after that. So very demoralizing, and it's like you're climbing uphill when you take those losses. So I definitely know how you feel when that first loss happened to you round 1. About your deck list, Dale, you had some interesting cards. I would say definitely different card choices than the winner's deck list. One of the questions I had for you when I first saw it was you played Prince John. How was Prince John for you that weekend?
I think Prince John is going to make its way back into all the green seal lists. If you listen to further interviews after the event, Brian will even say that a card that he's considering is Prince John. There's a lot of other top players saying Prince John probably has space in the deck. And it's mostly for the mirror because the big thing in the mirror is card equity becomes a huge thing, and it's not necessarily how good your opponent is. It's you kind of have to play, you have to ink on certain turns, you have to ink, and there's a lot of inevitable things. And the problem with when people view John is they view John on curve. John's not meant to be played on curve anymore. John is meant to be played on a shiftable Diablo turn with a Bucky. So if for example, I can shift Diablo on turn 2 with the Bucky, but I have John, I'll wait. Like there's a lot more that I could speak to how I play green steel versus how others play green steel. Like I have very different approach to the deck. So I built this deck very much for my playstyle. It has changed since, but again, like in the top decks, keeping John on board. Ward is what makes Bucky good, right? On top of being able to discard, but John also has Ward, Quest for 2 when you need to race. I found it to be relevant in against red. Well, against Medusa after, because sometimes you only get to so much lore, and since they're down on Tremaines, John is one of those cards that just live off Medusa and Mali. So yeah, John is a little oppressive in the sense too that they don't want you to get the cards off it. So some people might just start to ditch early, and they just play incorrect when they read the board state, and they're like, you know what, maybe I'll do this, and it turns the other way. So like John is still solid. In the list, there's a few things I would have changed. I definitely underestimated how good Ursula was. I know a lot of people cut Ursula 3, and so
I agree. The sing together mechanic is very strong too. There's a couple lists that I played, just more pet decks, right? But this is like your pet deck. Like you said, you played Steel from the very beginning, and I've always been a big Steel enjoyer as well. What did you feel like were like the harder matchups for Steel going into the challenge in Chicago?
uh, top deck Hiram. Any top deck Hiram was the hardest thing to deal with. But no, I honestly didn't think maybe Blue Steel, but the two Blue Steel matchups I played Blue Steel on top 16, and I kind of know how to play. So I have lines that I use differently for these decks, and do you guys want me to go into that into
Oh
how I
yeah,
play certain matchups?
yeah. Please.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
whatever you feel comfortable with. Yeah, we'd love to hear it. The viewers would love to hear it too.
a lot of people will make they'll just play their cards and they'll see it, right? And like they'll sudden chill when they have a free sting and they know it's safe. But I'll do a lot of stuff in the sense that um I'll kind of read my opponent when I see that. So again, a different level to what I take, and I draw this back a little bit to Yu-Gi-Oh. Since Yu-Gi-Oh is the only game that has no mulligan, it lets me assess my hands better. I know a lot of people, when I see people mull for like 2, 3, I'm like, your hand can't be that good, right? And I can pick up on how good someone's hand is by how they're inking, how long it takes them to ink. So I pick up on that, and when I see people are inking slowly, I'm like, okay, your hand, you have probably 2 lines, and you're not sure which way it's gonna go. And now I understand that I can probably choke you if I do something that you're not expecting. So a lot of the times people will Diablo Bucky on 2 or start to try to discard early. I actually try to hold my discard in bunches. So instead of going for a discard on one, for example, just a random discard on turn 1, or sorry, turn 2, and then I have a subsequent one on 3, and then on 4, I'll probably choke one into not discarding on 2, but discarding 2 in one turn, because it means they inked a card they don't like, and they're keeping their better cards. So I'll put people in positions where, so I know to put people in positions where the turn that they're expecting to Hiram or not, I'll actually put a Bucky, not a Bucky, a Diablo there for them to brawl, because I know they have a brawl. So I'll summon it there, and it gives me an extra turn to shoot the high room.
Yeah, you
Or I'll
wanna.
set up turn 5s where. So a little bit later, because I've seen a lot of green steel players, and even top green steel players just. I'm like you're punting a game because you're doing what your opponent is expecting you to do. Be broken, but they have the answer to your broken. You have to change it.
Yeah, Lorcana is interesting because like it's not like a linear game, but once you learn the card pool, once you pay attention to the meta, you can make like very reasonable predictions, you know. And I think that goes a long way. But exactly what you're saying, like when you can make those predictions, you can use that to your advantage. You can play cards that are gonna make your opponent play cards off curve, just like you said. You know, you want to maybe save a shift Bucky discard for a turn where your opponent is going to be on 4 ink. Maybe they were going to play Flavor Sim that turn, but instead you're putting them on. Now you got to play Brawl. You know what I mean? And if you don't play if you play your Flavor Sim this turn, now it's even more awkward. I remember Zach once told me that the way he plays Lorcana is I always think of what my opponent's next play is going to be, and I make my play in accordance to that to be as awkward as possible for them to respond. And it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. Like you know, you're like you said, you're throwing them off curve. You're giving them some surprise factor in like, oh, you thought I was gonna play Bucky on 2 with the Diablo shift, but I didn't. And exactly like you're saying, they're keeping the cards in their hand for a specific strategy. Now you're disrupting their strategy. Because they've inked certain other cards and they didn't realize they probably thought you didn't even have the Bucky Diablo because you didn't do it on turn 2.
Yeah, I did. It's funny because it came up against like one of the other top players out there, and I set up a line where I had a Bucky shift the whole time, but on turn 3, instead of just dropping Bucky, I saw that I saw he had Brawl because Diablo won. I just played a Robin Hood, and then on turn 4 shifted the Hood first. He pitched the Brawl because he's like, okay, he's not gonna get any equity out of it, and then I shifted the Diablo, and his eyes kind of lit up. And this was another top player.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even the top players don't understand. Like I'm telling you, the Yu-Gi-Oh brain is very different than the brain. And
Yeah.
Zach is saying the right thing. The Yu-Gi-Oh game has the most unforgiving game.
Yeah.
There's games where you can draw, you're like, well, I lose.
Mhm.
Where in this we have a mulligan. Like the amount of times that I've sent back 6 or sent back 7, I'm like, yeah, nope. If I could get a refresh, I'll take it.
Same. There,
So
the amount of times where I'll mulligan back 6, 7 cards because I tell myself I don't care how good this 3, 4, 5 is. I need a 1 drop. I need a 1 or 2 drop. If I don't, you know, and it's exactly like you said, like Yu-Gi-Oh. When you draw a bad hand in Yu-Gi-Oh, you just lose. You just flat out lose. You can't do anything about it. So ain't no way I'm gonna let that happen to me in Lorcana. So yeah, usually very rarely do I get some mulligan a couple. But yeah, it's fun. Lorcana is a very unforgiving game.
yeah.
There are decks and there are certain cards that feel very forgiving, but when you get outplayed, like you feel it really hard. No matter how good a player you are, like when you misplay, when you get outplayed, it's very unforgiving.
I agree. When you brought up Matt Petal, it was the first thought I had in mind was I want the old Yu-Gi-Oh players to kind of recognize that Dale Bolito is playing another card game. So it's good to see that our old Yu-Gi-Oh players are already playing this card game.
Yep.
And how do you think that's helped you actually like get into the game? I know the biggest thing for me in Yu-Gi-Oh was like my friends and the community, and slowly but surely, I found out who my real friends are in the game, of course, and the community, it's still there. Was there any struggles you had when you were getting into the Lorcana scene in your area?
Not really, only because I was around for a little bit online for the retro Yu-Gi-Oh format. So I was kind of backpacking that and supporting that in the area. So I wasn't completely off card games, but I was off new card games. So I was just playing what I like. But when getting into Lorcana, I have this kind of godfather of Yu-Gi-Oh in all the stores in Toronto. So I'll go into a store and like I don't know how familiar you are with modern Yu-Gi-Oh, like Jesse. You know Jesse Cotton.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So like I've known Jesse since he was like in diapers. So I knew Jesse since he was 5, and we've been friends
Wow.
since he was 5. He's like 21 now.
Yeah.
Like Jesse, I'll tell people that Jesse retired me and my brother. Right? Jesse was this little kid that would come to our locals. And his dad was an amazing guy, so like I connected more with his dad, and his son was great. Like Jesse shot me a message, and when he saw me top 64, he's like, "Oh, Chicago's your place." So the joke is, it's not the joke. I won my first event in Chicago
Oh wow.
20 years. So my first Shonen Jump win was Chicago. So everyone's like, "You're gonna win Chicago," and that's kind of what killed me. That's what killed me a little bit more because I was running so hot in day 2. I was 2-0ing everybody. I was out really quickly to a point where I was like, you know what? I've convinced myself that I won. And when I lost in top 8, it was like the highest highs to like the lowest valley possible. And I was like, oh, I really feel this. I'm not going to do this next time. And I had so as an adult now, I know to get a US number when I go to the US. So I shut down my Canadian number, and no one was messaging me. It wasn't coming through because everyone was messaging. No one knows I have a US number when I'm here. So everyone, I turned it on just to uh, update some people, and then it blows up, and everyone's oh, like good luck in good luck in top 64. I've already lost at this point, so they're like, good luck in top 64. Chicago's your place. You're gonna win. That yada yada yada, and then no, I'm sitting there sulking. I'm like, I need to talk to somebody. I can't handle this because for as long as I played card games, that top 8 match, losing that golden Mickey, was probably the highest stakes match I played. And I played like I've lost enough. Well, you know what? Maybe the second highest stakes. I lost the finals of nationals, and in that nationals, I got to go to worlds.
Mm.
So losing that was pretty big, and it took me forever to get over that. But I got over it on my first Shonen Jump because I won. So if I go to Texas, I wouldn't want to play me. Or if I miss Texas and I go to Toronto, you're just stopping the inevitable. I'm just kidding. Like that's me. That is me in a nutshell. I'm very competitive, and yeah, like you were saying, Zach, getting into Lorcana in the scene. No, I've kind of always been around the scene. A lot of my friends that I played Yu-Gi-Oh with actually own the card stores in my area.
Not to bring bad vibes into the scene, but you and Kevin definitely were one match away from that golden Mickey, and you and I can relate too because I was one match away from going to Worlds in Yu-Gi-Oh. It was during the points playoff, so that's something totally different and new that they were doing, where that was an additional way to go to Worlds, was to earn enough points through regionals, and you'd even obtain points from topping YCSs. Just actually thinking about that now, how would you feel if Lorcana did something like that, where not even just points, but alternative ways to go to nationals? Because I think you've obtained your nationals invite with the top 8 DLC, correct?
Yeah, I did. So I have a sneaky suspicion, and I want to say this here first, is that they're gonna skip continentals and they're just gonna make it worlds just for the first year because I don't think there's enough events. So I think because you're gonna bleed into next season. You're gonna take too long to do anything. That's what I'm thinking. That's why maybe nothing was announced. But if there were alternate ways to get in, I mean, it would have to be set championships. It can't be locals. It would have to be winning set championships because those are the only like you can't I know some stores fabricated some results, but it's very hard to do that when everyone will travel to a store where there's set championships if there becomes less and less. But yeah, they're sure regional invites, not just challenges. If they have regular regional tournaments, and I think the set champs are the closest to it right now. But yeah, honestly, the more people, the better.
Yeah, I know they confirmed.
agree.
I know they confirmed already. They're doing last minute qualifiers, so you are going to be able to do like a last minute tournament to qualify. I said this before in another video, but when I was playing my top 32 or whatever, I'd asked a judge like, "Oh, what's the cutoff to get your invite to nationals?" And he was like, "Oh, it's top 16." And I kind of made a joke, and I was like, "Dang, that's going to be a really small nationals then." and he kind of laughed and he was like, "Yeah, but there's talks about there being alternative ways to get your invite." And he kind of like gave me a wink and a nudge, and I was like, "Oh, you know." And then and then I kind of said like, "Oh, like the last minute qualifiers." He's like, "There's talks about more ways to get your invite." So I was like, "Oh, okay." So it might be, there might. I personally think if they are going to do it, it should just be like the winner of the set champs. If you win a set championship, that'd be cool to get a Nats invite too. I don't think, because I think they're gonna, if they do like top 4 at the set champs, it's gonna be lame. Too many people, you know. I do think that getting first place at a set champs would kind of make the cutoff, you know, very rewarding as well. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, set champs is actually a good point. I know Magic has like RCQs, and local game stores host RCQs, and that's a way to get into like the Pro Tour, I believe, or yeah, I think it's the Pro Tour, not the Grand Prix. Um, it it might be something even better too. I would like for them to actually like have something like regionals for that meaning alone, like the top of a certain regional gets to go too. Because I
Yeah.
agree, unless they expand it and make everybody that makes day 2 qualify, um, it I don't think it makes it less prestigious. I think it's important to have a large attendance when it comes to nationals, but your world championships should definitely be small. So I think what Dale mentioned would make more sense if they're not planning on handing out so many, is that you're going straight to worlds.
That would be
Yeah.
insane. That would be insane. Honestly, I'd feel blessed. But I do want to mention
Yeah.
that, you know, we're a group of non-winners here, but we're still gonna keep trying. We're not giving up, right? Like, you know, Dale, you're gonna go to possibly Fort Worth, you said, and you live in Toronto, with from what I'm inferring over here. So I imagine you're gonna go to the DLC Toronto. Zach, you're obviously playing all the games with me. I want to win a golden Mickey as well, bro. Like, we're not gonna give up, and I want viewers to understand that too. Like, the reason why we brought Dale on here is because he's known as a Yu-Gi-Oh legend, not just because of his credentials, but because of the fact that, like you said, you're the godfather of Yu-Gi-Oh in your area. Your friends own the shops, and you're still committed to playing these card games, man. What is it that keeps you going? Like, why card games?
I like to win, right? And I wasn't gifted with the basketball body that I wanted, but to do something. So not everybody can say this in life. It's like to be the best at something in the world at one point in time is I think it would be cool. And at that one point in time when I won Chicago many years ago, I was the best player for at least that one day to play this game, and I always want to I want to emulate that feeling. And again, like Brian right now, and he's the best player right now. No one can go over that. I want that. I love that. I love that thrill. Like the Mickey aside, it was about winning
Yeah,
because I just wanted that belt. I wanted to be the very first one in Atlanta, and my exposure to the best of 2 format then was a shock. And I was like, okay, that my approach is wrong. Let me run it back in Chicago, and obviously, it didn't start off great, but it ended pretty good. But I want to win. I want to win. I love the community aspect of this, especially now that the environment's even better. I like card games. I like how engaging they can be. I like how difficult they are. Because anyone can play cards, but not everyone can win.
love that. Yeah, I also want to be the best, man. Like, it's exactly. It's not. It wasn't just about the Mickey. Like, I want to win first place. You know. So look out for us. Look out for us all at your DLC, because we're there to win, man. We're not there to make top 64. We're not there to get some intentional draws and some cheesy like wins. No, we're there to get first place. And I honestly like implore viewers to think of that way yourself too, man. Like, I understand it's a competitive game, and sometimes you may not be the most competitive player yourself, but like, you know, you should still want to win. It is a game. That is the objective of the game. And you can win. Like, even if you are casual, even if you're not playing the meta deck, you know, I definitely think that you should take that mentality with you at your DLCs, your locals, your next set champs coming up. We have the set champs coming up. Dale, are you gonna keep playing Emerald Steel? Is there anything that you're kind of cooking in your head right now? It's what, a week in set champs. You ready?
I'm probably gonna run Emerald Steel till people start beating me. I haven't lost locally with that deck, and unfortunately Pixelborn's down, and that's where I used to take all my licks because I would play from work, and I would clock and I would lose, and I'd be like, yeah, not that good. But you know what? I understand this deck. It's my most amount of reps. I still think it's the best deck. I mean, if you look at the weekend, a lot of top players that were playing something else went to the dark side and picked up green steel. So it has to go. People are still trying to answer Diablo, and it's not there's answers to their answers already. So
Yeah, I love that. There's literal answers to their answers already. You're playing Hidden Cove still in your list. To go back to your list, is there anything you would change with it coming up? There are some like new meta techs I think that people are starting to shove into their deck to out like the Green Steel deck. I've seen people play Avalanche in their lists recently. So is there anything you would change about your list that you'd been thinking about adding?
like there's a lot of cards that I want to test, right? So for example, Sudden Chill. If I could play more, I would. So what's the next closest card to Sudden Chill? And it's Bibbidi. So Bibbidi on a Floodborn doesn't matter if I don't have an on summon effect. I could just discard another card. And now it has a little bit more purpose into discarding with Diablo. You could do a lot of cool stuff with Bibbidi, right? You could like obviously Ursula 3. You can bounce an Ursula 2, shoot another card. You don't have to guess with the Bucky to see what they'll discard. You could shoot what they want, what you want. You could shoot the song. You could also go quest, Bibbidi, turn your guys straight to protect them. So there's a lot of cool things. Obviously, reset damage.
But Pack Tactics was a card that I liked because I found myself getting, really high in the lore race, but not able to finishing it off. And you don't see people ever like trading into characters fairly. They're always trying to do value trade, meaning they keep their character while still banishing yours. So that
Yep.
leaves damage counters. And they're more than likely not going to heal it off of a popsicle after that in the red blue matchup. So you're able to steal games you shouldn't win when you pack tactics them. There was also an inkable action that wasn't a song, so I like the idea of not getting Ursula ripped out of the hand, and also being able to discard it with Diablo. So yeah, I think everyone's trying to innovate and trying different stuff out, and without Pixelborn, that's definitely a struggle. So I agree with you for sure.
Yeah. The other card, just to throw another card there, is like you've already seen it in this, but if blue steel starts to pick up even more, it's part Under the Sea. Under the Sea is just a card that could shut that down. So I don't think you have to go so deep into certain tech. It's already there. It's just when do you finally need to main deck them?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And we're getting to those points where you can start cooking up some spicy text.
So Dale, one thing about Yu-Gi-Oh and the difference of Lorcana is that there is no side decking. It is
Yeah.
just your main deck, and that's it. How do you feel about that? I'm used to side decking too.
If I don't know what to do against you, I'll discard your hand. If you put monsters on the board, I can pick them off. So that's part of the big reason why I choose green steel is if I don't know what your deck's gonna do, I'm just gonna try and discard your hand. And that's my that was my approach to green steel. Like, yeah, would I like to sideboard? Yeah, but it takes away from the uniqueness of this game. I think this game is pretty well put together. Best of 3 format is amazing in this game if that can come back, but nah, I'm okay without the sideboard.
For sure. Interesting opinions on the sideboard. It's funny because I used to be very like pro sideboard in Lorcana, but now that we're expanding the card pool so much, I do kind of see it as unnecessary. There's more than enough cards in your deck where you can play like one of this and one of this. The issue really is inkables and uninkables. There's so many great cards in the game, but so many are uninkable. So you have to pick and choose your poison there, I think. Yeah, man. So, what is going to be your strategy for Toronto? You're going to Toronto for sure, I'm assuming, right?
Not for sure. I'm still on the fence with Fort Worth. The only reason because now that like I have an Astros invite, there were so many events that I wanted to go to, but it's just do I have enough time to go to all of them? So if I have to give something up, I don't want to give up. So Toronto is obviously it's home. I gotta win home. I want to win home, and I want to be here because it's part of it is being a top level Yu-Gi-Oh player for a long time. You kind of had this intimidation factor when you're going into a room, and people just like they mess up against you, and that I I, I have that in Toronto. People just like will mess up by accident because they like right now for you, Kev. When you go to your store, people like wow, like when they play you, they already feel like they're gonna lose, and
Yeah,
that's something
some
that
people.
you earn. You got to earn those stripes. You earn those stripes. That's why we play,
Yeah.
right? That's why we play competitive. And Zach, same with you. When you're riding hot in Yu-Gi-Oh, people knew they were gonna lose to you. They're just like, I gotta sit here for 40 minutes, or maybe he'll be nice enough and maybe he'll be nice enough and beat me in 20 minutes, right? It's one of those things. That's why we play. We earn these stripes, and when you're at home, you have the most. That's why I want Toronto. But and for so the next event after that would be Las Vegas, and top players always do better in new formats. So that's one that I wouldn't want to miss if I could go to, because new players can, especially with no Pixelborn, can adapt or create the meta a little bit better. Because the majority of people will look at surface cards on the surface and not know, they'll just plug cards in
Yeah.
and not know the true interactions. And I, like all of us, we're all in a bunch of Discord groups, and I have a lot of strong players in mine, and I get to like my home team Pixelborn group is very strong. A lot of results out there. But yeah, we're card game players from forever. We have Bandai champions, we have Yu-Gi-Oh legends, we have all across the board. So we're it's beneficial for us to go to the newest event every time. And if one were to miss, it would probably be Fort Worth. But I have an itch. I have an itch, can't scratch it, and I don't know if I could wait till August to scratch it. And set championships aren't doing anything for that.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's not enough, man. Like I love set champs. I'm super excited, but like everyone like with all my friends are messaging me like, bro, did you sign up for set champs yet? Like, oh, all the set champs links are up, guys. Make sure you sign up. And I'm like, bro, I'm trying to win golden Mickey's. Like, I'm trying to get first place at the DLCs. Like, yeah, I'm okay with like I'm not in like a super big rush to go sign up to all my set champs. Like, nah, man. I'm in a rush to go to all the DLCs though. Like, it's just something about it, man. Something about wanting to be the best, like you said, and I resonate with that so much, bro. Trying to be the best at something in in that time frame of life, or just wanting to be first place, or even grinding your way to try and get, and you've been there, like you are a champion, like so I've never been there. I'm barely getting the taste of it, bro. This is my first premier top that I actually got in any game. For as long as I did play Yu-Gi-Oh, like I strongly believe that I let the nerves get to me. I played plenty of people where I sat down and I would think like, oh, I'm about to get 2-0'd by so and so. I've lost plenty of matches on the bubble because of that reasoning, and like I stopped playing card games for a long time, and coming back to it, like with a different, I guess, mentality. I'm a little bit more of a mature person. I feel like it has helped a lot, but it wasn't just that. I think it's the Lorcana community too. Like I've never felt a pressure to perform in this community. I've always just felt a pressure to have fun, and that's an entirely different feeling. Yeah, I want to win. I've always felt the pressure to want to win and be the best, but like an actual pressure to perform, it doesn't happen to me in this game. I don't know if it's because I play the game all the time, the community, the people, but like it's just something different. Something different about it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I 100% resonate with all of that. And once you get that taste, it's addictive. You want it. You want to know what the next level feels like. Like I came up. So I'm in a family where I'm not even the best Yu-Gi-Oh player. My brother is. Zach will tell you. I'm sure you guys know. Lazaro has done it all. Been to Worlds. He's won 4 tournaments. He's won 4 championships, right?
Yeah.
Like I might have 99.9% behind me, but that 0.1% growing up was always in the same house with me. So I always had to look, and for a long time, for the longest time, he was a little brother that was not good, and then out of nowhere, like lightning struck, and he had a great year, and just something clicked, and I was like, you know what? I guess I'm little brother now.
That's
And
crazy. That
and, and part of the joke right now is he hasn't been playing Lorcana. So he started in the beginning with me,
Mhm.
and in the very big first tournament that we had in our area was for an Enchanted Elsa tournament, and it was the first big constructed, and we both made top 8. We were in top 4, and then he ended up losing. And then it was so late that I just drew in the last round, and then after that he stopped playing. So I kept playing from then locally, but he stopped playing. But he came back for one tournament. He came back for Taya's last 10K,
yeah.
and he didn't touch cards. He didn't play anything before. He would sit in the Discord and he would just read. He would ask us questions, and then he finished third, and then our other team member finished first. So Jordan is also part of the Discord on that team. So Jordan Lazaro. Jordan also wasn't playing. Jordan didn't was playing Dragon Ball and decided to fight. So again, he was part of set 1. He was at that Elsa tournament.
Mhm.
He's like, I'm gonna put this down. I'm a Bandai player. And then he saw the challenges come, and we all started playing again. And then these two come back, machine gun that tournament, and then I get Chicago the week after. So it's looking pretty good for our Discord right now. Our
Yeah, man. Yeah.
8-man Discord.
Nice, nice, and that's what it's about. I was just about to ask you, like, what preparations are you taking up since Pixelborn is gone? But like, clearly you have a community of committed friends, your own brother that you grew up with playing card games with. That's amazing. That's inspiring. I've been trying to get my brothers to play Lorcana, and it's no use. They're not into the competitive card games like that. But the fact that you grew up with your own flesh and blood being as competitive as you are, and I'm pretty sure you inspired him to be as competitive, man. I know when I was little and I'd play my brother, I wanted to be better than him. My oldest brother, and I always wanted to be better than him. So that's probably what you did to him, man. And yeah, I was gonna mention that. Congrats to him. He finished third, you said, in the Taya Beastie 10K, the most recent one, which is a very tough. It's a tough thing to do. Your other homie in the Discord got first place. You getting Chicago top 8. Yeah, man, you guys know what you're doing. So playtesting in your Discord groups, no Pixelborn. Are you just playing like remote play? Are you gonna start testing other means, or what's up?
So a few of them play. So back in our Yu-Gi-Oh days, we also didn't play test a lot. We are very theory driven.
Theorying instead of playing is basically what we're wrapping up on there. Okay, so
Yeah.
like I feel like that's a hard thing in itself to do. I need to learn by repetition. If I make a misplay and I get punished, I will never make that misplay again. But I sometimes feel like I need to make that misplay in order for me to evolve past that misplay. So I think that is a testament to the type of player you are. You have the old school Yu-Gi-Oh brain where you're constantly theorying because there was no Pixelborn, there was no simulator back then, right? So all you really had to do was play test in real life and theory craft. So maybe I am taking it a little bit too for granted.
Yeah, but doesn't
Yeah.
know about YVD, and it shows.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the other thing is, I don't know if you have a big circle or a testing group, but in our Discord or with my friends, with my team, I like to write down certain interactions that have happened so it doesn't happen to anybody else. So it only needs to happen to one of us to not for the next person not to experience it. So part of the reason where, like, when we would go to tournaments before, we would all run the same deck, and after the first 3 rounds, like, we're bringing a brand new deck that hasn't been tested. It's only been tested around us because there was no online playing. So we would test it, and if we all ran the same deck in the first 3-4 rounds, we would gather enough games in the first 4 rounds. If five of us ran it, we'd have 15 games in the first 3 rounds, and we kind of talk about it after each round, like, hey, what happened in your game? So it doesn't happen, or if anything cool happened, any cool interactions happen, we know that for the rest of the tournament. So it's the same with this game where, you know what, hey, this interaction happened, or this can happen, or this is actionable. Just remember that this could happen. It won't, that Yu-Gi-Oh brain, that big memory bank that we have, all those little things. The good thing is it's pushing out old Yu-Gi-Oh stuff that is no longer relevant to make room for new Lorcana stuff.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but having that team and to talk about it and jot it down, like before, we never had Discord. Like information is so much better now.
Yeah,
I see
yeah.
the reference.
There's so many tools at our disposal now. You know, whether because not just Pixelborn, like you said, spreadsheets, a bunch of players sharing information, which is extremely important. I really like that you mentioned that you and your team keep track of neat interactions or negative interactions that happen to you that you can share with your opponents or vice versa. I mean, a lot of times when we had Pixelborn, I would share my stream in our testing groups and. Sometimes we discover neat little interactions like we were testing and Zach was like, oh, if you you're about to deck out, but you have a location. So if you end your turn, you're gonna gain the lore before you deck out, so you win anyways. You know, and it's things like that 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 I never forget because you experience it with your homies or you're learning it with your team and it sticks with you. But yeah, man. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Any advice on how to be a champion other than the advice you've already given?
I give some advice to how I want to be a champion. I'm not there yet for this game. I definitely hope to be there, but I think there's a lot of skill that like needs to be learned, needs to be kind of established and understood. Like the mulligan is extremely important. Um, what I'm going to talk to Green Steel a little bit more than any other deck because I do that. I'm a specialist in that sense, where I know this deck in and out. And a lot of people call, and I could be wrong here. This could be a hot take, but a lot of people call red blue the control deck of the format. It's not the control deck of the format. That deck in my sense is the aggro ramp deck. It's trying to get to a certain amount of ink and just drop bombs. That's not control. That's just controlling myself to get to a certain amount of ink, and then it's a bomb after bomb. You don't even have to think about playing it. Tamatoa, rip, summon. Where green is the real control deck. What you're trying to establish early is which way are you controlling the game? Are you controlling field? Are you controlling board? Are you controlling ink? Or are you controlling hand? You have to establish that with it. That's why Diablo 1 is so important. You can look at that hand and you can establish, hey, you know what? I don't need to ink past 3 right now because I need to choke you at 4. I'm gonna use too many cards to ink to 4, where it doesn't matter if you're at if I'm at if I go up to 3 or if I go up to 4. I need this extra card to make sure. So there's a lot of games where I won't ink, and I see a mistake where I see people just I need to get to 5. You don't need to get to 5 yet because if you can stop your opponent from getting to 3 or getting to 4 or for them getting to 5, you don't need to get to 5 if you control the board. So that's where I say Green Steel is the true control deck because you can control all facets of how you win. The good thing about from set 3 to set 4 is one, the lore control in the sense of racing is eliminated, and that was the biggest difficulty with Green Steel before. Green Steel had 4 different ways to control the game in the sense of either hand, ink, not so much because ink and hand tie together, board, but it was lore, and it was loring. A lot of people didn't know if they're supposed to lore aggressively or not. With not having the aggressive stuff now, you can prioritize the 3 stronger ways to win. So I think it's a control deck, and it's just establishing how you're gonna play, what you want to play, the type of player you are, and if you can adapt. Like a big thing you got to do is you got to learn all the decks, and you got to understand the choke points in the matchup that you want to play. So when I play other decks, when I play red blue, I try to figure out the turn that what turn can green steel really do something to me, and as a green steel player, know that turn. So know which turn I could do that to my opponent. Just like saying, like it's obvious when you say it like this in a vacuum, where it's yeah. Instead of forcing them to high roam, you have to force it, or instead of letting them high roam, you force them to play a brawl or quest with the Bucky because I have another Bucky in hand, so I let them Maui it instead of Hireming, draw, and then I could shoot the card in hand because they value the discard so much. They fear Bucky so much more. So like very easy to theory that, but when you're playing, it's very different.
That makes a lot of sense. The point of interaction that the green steel deck has versus all the other decks, like you're just trying to find out what turns are the most impactful turns. Sometimes, however, that doesn't always work because they don't have those cards. So we're almost playing around imaginary cards, and even though you get to have a peek at the hand with Diablo, they do get to draw a few cards after that, and that does again give them more private information to have versus public information or information that you had previously. So without that being said, the control aspect, did you find yourself wanting to not necessarily control the board, but when did you decide I need to quest? Like when did you decide I need to just start being on the beatdown, as they would like to call it?
It depends on the matchup. So a lot of the times I'll go on the beat. I can choke them out of all cards, hand and board, and then I just start questing. Or I know like I'll quest stuff to bait. I'll quest stuff to engage in interaction on the next turn. Where a lot of people like again, like I've seen videos of people not questing with Bucky because they're worried about Maui. I'm like, well, if they're worried about Maui, they're not playing something. So um the deck is deeper. The green steel deck is far deeper than, mind you, it has the most broken hands that you could draw, but it's definitely deeper than people give it. And I guarantee you, everyone that's coming into this game, that all the One Piece, all the other card game players that are coming into this game that pick up green steel and will pay everything for the deck will sell it in about a month's time because they're like, why aren't I winning with it? And they'll all pick up that red blue. Not saying not to take anything away from red blue. Red blue is much easier to get wins with in the beginning. So I encourage everybody to start that way. Because green steel, on top of it being the best deck, it's also the most expensive, but it's also the easiest to lose with.
Mm-hmm.
It might give you easy wins, but it's definitely easy to lose with too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there is a lot of people that come from different card games, and one of the bits that we like to say is that Lorcana has a mix of TCG players and Disney fans. So Dale, we got to ask you, how much of a Disney fan are you? You said you like to duet the songs. That getting a vibe that is means you're a bigger Disney fan than myself, at least.
Yeah, no, definitely TCG fan first, but definitely more. I know more Disney lore and story than I've known of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I played Yu-Gi-Oh! For 20 years, so that has to speak to something.
You got a favorite Disney movie?
Aladdin.
Hey,
Nice, nice.
let's
We got a gang of Aladdin cards. That no wonder you started playing the game. You're like one jump ahead of the bread line.
Yeah. Unfortunately, well, obviously, Whole New World is one of my favorite songs, and it's one of the most broken cards. So,
Yeah, yeah. Is there any Disney IPs you want to see in the future of Lorcana?
my biggest issue is I don't know what's Pixar, what's Disney,
Yeah, so I mean,
right? Like,
yeah, I don't think we're getting Pixar anytime soon, by the way. But you can include Pixar if you want. But we're missing a couple of the modern like Disney stuff, like Big Hero 6. We're missing Brave. And then like older stuff, I think we're missing like what are we missing? Like older stuff, you know?
are weak. There's no good Jungle Book stuff.
is Pocahontas? No Pocahontas cards, right?
Oh,
This is missing. Yeah.
you're missing Pocahontas. Yep, yep, we were missing Pocahontas. That's actually a pretty big
And I
one.
Bambi.
Bambi. They got to make good
But
Aladdin cards. Yeah.
yeah, I want more Aladdin, more Lion King. Those are my two. Lion King is like a 1.5 right behind Aladdin.
They just revealed that new Lion King card. Did you see it? The Emerald card.
Great. Okay, so it looks cool. I don't know how it's interesting. It's interesting. Like right away, I'm like, okay, that's cool, but that you spend 4 ink to catch up, but then they're just gonna reestablish not singable.
Yeah.
Initial
So
reaction was like, whoa, that's great. that's dope. And then I keep thinking about it. I don't think it's that good.
Yeah, like when I first read it too. So if you guys don't know what the card does, it's a 4-cost uninkable emerald card that reads. It's called Remember Who You Are. If chosen opponent has more cards in their hand than you, draw cards until you have the same number. So it'll help you kind of catch back up in the game, but it is a hefty cost and it's uninkable. Emerald already has issue with having so many uninkables in the deck, so I don't think it fits anywhere. But if we ever have like a multiplayer league, like a multiplayer tournament, cards like this I think are good. Cards like this I'll keep up here, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. For me, I
think
love
that that card,
spoilers.
in theory, definitely sounds a little bit, I would say, good. But the first initial thought I had was, unless I'm drawing 4 cards off this card, it's not powerful. In order for me to draw 4 cards, they have to have at least 4 cards to my 0, or scale 1 to 1 in that sense. And you're giving up a whole turn of tempo, in my opinion. So yeah, it was at first glance you think about it, oh, it does sound good, and the more you think about it, you're like, that's highly situational to be that rewarding.
You know they have a song that's like that already.
Which one?
It's whole new world. You
Oh,
both go to 7.
oh yeah, yeah. I
Ah.
guess you both go to 7. I guess you both go to 7. Yeah, that's true.
Go to
That's
7.
true.
So,
But yeah, man, that is probably gonna be a card that doesn't see much meta play. But I am looking forward to more cards from the new set coming out soon. Hopefully, more Aladdin cards. I know we're getting some Wreck-It Ralph stuff in there, and possibly some other stuff that we're not ready for. But yeah, thanks again, Dale, for joining us on this episode of Quest with a Guest. You gave us a lot of insight on how to play not only Emerald Steel, but how to play Lorcana from like the perspective of a competitor who not only wants to like do well, but like straight up win championships, you know. And I think you gave me a lot of insight on like how to play this current format. A couple things I didn't understand about Green Steel. Preface, by the way, I tried Green Steel in the beginning. I lost a lot with it, and I gave it. I sold it. I did not want anything to do with it. The deck is a lot more. The deck has a higher skill ceiling than what people give it credit for. So I 100% agree with you there, and I thank you greatly for giving not only me but the viewers some insight on how to play the deck, and some how to do well at the next tournaments, man. Good luck at Toronto. Good luck in your set championships. We hope to see you there. Any final shout outs before we call it a day?
yeah, I want to shout out my group, my testing circle, my store. We have this one store in our area, Cans and Games, and the community there is amazing. And I felt like we bred the best players in. So for us in Toronto, it's the Greater Toronto area. So we bred one of the strongest stores, and to a point where they would leave and go to the other stores and win the set championships elsewhere. So there's a photo of everyone coming back to the store and all the locals that like that. There can only be one winner during our locals, so it's usually, if it's not myself, it's one of the other guys consistently. But everyone had a handful of stitches. There were stitches for everybody, and yeah, the Kansan group, all of the guys, the store owners, everyone. This game is amazing. Community is amazing. Um, my girl for supporting me, calling me during my events. Um, but yeah, I mean, everyone that I've met has been great. Everyone that I'm gonna meet, I know will be great. And you two came up to me in Atlanta. I came up to you guys. Huge love right away, and it was like magic. So
It's the heart of the cards bringing us all together for sure. So Dale, thank you so much for being on Quest with a Guest, the segment where you can lore for more.
Right. Stay tuned to Lorcana Goons, and we'll see you Goons next time. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you like this content, because it does support the channel. And if you want to find Dale, do you have any social media, Dale, you want to plug?
okay, so yeah, quickly, everyone's had my old Facebook, and I've been locked out of that for like the last year. So I'm sure I got tons of messages, and I had to create this new Facebook only because I wanted to get into the Facebook groups. And I tried trading because the marketplace is pretty good, but it looks like a scammer profile because I have like 3 friends, and it's new. So unfortunately, I probably will turn on my Instagram again. Eventually, it's Dale Bito at Instagram, and I'll set up a Twitter because
You should.
or an X.
Yeah,
Because that's where we're going.
Yeah, Lorcana's the community is huge on Twitter. They would love you. And they appreciate everyone on Twitter. We appreciate any player who wants to share their information. It helps a lot. But yeah, definitely make a Twitter. And if you want to give me the link to that new Facebook, I'll plug it in the description below. Everybody go add Dale so he stops looking like a fake account, so he can actually do some trades, bro. Yeah, but you're gonna have tons of friends after this video, bro. Just send me the link. But yeah, like Zach Stone said, stay tuned to Lorcana Goons, and we'll see you Goons next time. Thank you so much.